Paradise is a romantic comedy starring Julia Roberts and George Clooney. And if you've seen the trailer, you've seen the movie. It's predictable, beat for beat, like your typical romantic comedy. They are divorced. They've been divorced for years. They bought this perfect house on a lake, but their marriage unraveled. But they're in love with their young daughter, who goes on a vacation after she graduates from college. And the young daughter ends up falling for someone on the island. Okay. It's in Bali. She falls for someone on the island, decides to get married. So the divorced couple, Julia Roberts and George Clooney, I don't even remember the characters' names. Okay. It's Julia Roberts and George Clooney. They decide to go off to Bali to derail the wedding because they want to make sure that their daughter doesn't make the mistake that they made when they were too young and got married. Hilarity ensues. You've seen this movie a million times before. It's as expected. Like I said, if you've seen the trailer, you've got the gist of it. You've seen the movie. Here's what I found interesting about the film. One, it was kind of fun. It was really interesting to see, like, there's nothing particularly overly woke, no agenda being pushed. There's not even a gay best friend. Although the young daughter does have a best friend who likes to sleep with a lot of dudes. She brings like a giant case of condoms with her to Bali. In any case. There's just not those typical things you think would be. This feels like a movie that was written like 10 years ago, but it's refreshing because we haven't seen anything like this. And even a movie that would be made like this these days would have a lot more going on. There's just nothing beneath the surface, nothing, no agenda. It's purely about the story and these characters and this divorced couple who hate each other, who somehow have to unite towards this one cause to get their daughter out of marrying too young. Not going to spoil it. You can guess what happens. Here's what I found interesting about the film is how much I had a good time. Is it a great film? By no means is it a great film. Look, it's a 5 or 6, right? But it was fun. It's fun at the time, right? And also it was just like, wow, I have not seen a movie like this in so long that it was kind of refreshing. But another thing that I would point out about this movie that I thought was interesting is Julia Roberts and George Clooney are stars. They are stars. You don't hear them lecturing on social media too much. Yes, they're involved in causes and whatnot, but they're not super preachy in terms of their public image. They are legit stars, and they have been stars for decades since the 80s. Right? Like George Clooney, 80s, 90s. Like, so they have been stars for decades. The young couple who should be memorable are completely forgettable. And that was really what stood out to me, is because there's kind of two couples in the movie, right? There's the couple that's about to get married, and then there's Julia Roberts and George Clooney. They're divorced. They hate each other, and that's the source of the comedy. They end up sitting next to each other on the plane. They end up having hotel rooms that are right next to each other, like all this stuff, and they hate it, right? Like it's fun to watch that dynamic. But the young couple that's getting married is utterly forgettable. Their scenes are boring, and they're not stars. And I'd be surprised if we see them in any movies going forward. They're not stars. So standing in contrast to Julia Roberts and George Clooney, it struck me like, who are the young stars now? Other than maybe Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet, maybe what's that name? Finn Wolfhard, Florence Pugh. Like, they're just very few youngs. Are those the young stars of today? Are they going to have careers that span decades? I'm not sure. And so what it told me was, and also, by the way, theater was packed when I saw this movie. The theater was packed. Why was it packed? One, I think people are starved for a movie like this. Two, the movie overperformed at the box office. Okay. 3, it wasn't number 1. It didn't beat Black Adam, but it did very well for the type of film it was. But it was packed audience. I'm like, why is it packed? Right? Like, this is weird. Like, this shouldn't be. And I didn't see it at night. I saw it an afternoon screening. Okay. Why are there so many people here? And I feel like people are starved for, just give me something innocuous entertainment that I'm used to, and I just want to check my brain at the door. So The two takeaways are it's surprising a movie like this can be this successful, but maybe not surprising. The other thing about this is that where are the young stars of tomorrow whose careers will span decades, the same that Julia Roberts and George Clooney have? I don't think they exist. And that's it. So a mild recommendation, if you like this type of movie, probably wait for streaming. Unless you're like me and you just go to the movies more often than you should.
Yeah, I think, I mean, quite frankly, this is a perfect counter offering against Black Adam, and I think that's probably why there was such a big audience there. And I think, I think people are starved to see big stars fall in love again, and not be preached at, and not have to go in waiting for that wah wah moment where Hollywood hates you.
Right.
Yeah, it may not be a great story, but it's a story that that makes you feel good. That's what it sounds like. You felt good at the end of it.